Good evening and welcome to the 8th episode of the Chanticleer Show. I'm Hayden with Fifth Quarter CCU. I got my friend Eric at Fifth Quarter Louisiana with me. We don't play this year, but I really wanted to do one with some guys at Louisiana. Just hear some thoughts and opinions, especially on last year. But we'll get to that later. But Eric, go on to introduce yourself and your connection to Louisiana.
Yeah, my name is Eric Dillo. I'm with Fifth Quarter Louisiana. I'm a 1997 graduate of University of Louisiana. I grew up in Louisiana, left there in 86, joined the Army. After the Army, I went back to school and went to UL and graduated in 97. Been a fan ever since I started going there in 94.
There you go, man. Yeah, well, speaking of Louisiana, we do hope everyone down in that state's doing pretty good with the hurricane going on. The hurricane already passed, but hopefully things are good down that way. We certainly know, Wes, like we've had, this is my 6th year at Coastal, and we've had 5 hurricanes within those 6 years I've been here. So.
I lived in Savannah for a while, and we got a share of hurricanes over there too when I lived there.
Yeah.
My prayers are with the people in Acadiana. They're having some bad weather tonight too.
Yeah, man. Hopefully they'll get through it, man. Speaking of Louisiana, though, I haven't been to a UL game. I've been through northern Louisiana a few times on I-20. I've only stopped at Popeyes because, Popeyes is Louisiana chicken. Now, I want to know, what are Louisiana games like? What is the food like there? Because, there is a chance that Coastal could travel to Louisiana in early December.
Right. Well, I actually grew up in North Louisiana, so the food there does not compare to the South Louisiana food. Popeyes is like eating at Taco Bell. It's not really Mexican food. My favorite South Louisiana food is boudin, which is kind of rice and a meat. It could be sausage. It could be crawfish. It kind of in a sausage casing. Personally, I love to eat Zapp's chips with it, with a flavor called crawtators. There's just so much. I mean, obviously boiled crawfish. I love boiled crawfish. When you go to Louisiana game, there's so many people there that are tailgating and cooking and just, whether it's crawfish, gumbo, jambalaya, rice dressing. I mean, there's all kinds of food, and they're more than willing to share. And they love to drink too.
Oh, there we go. Yeah. Yeah, man, I'm all about trying new food and especially drinking. Every time I go to a major league ballpark, I always try their local beer. But that actually has me excited. I'm pretty sure that the tiebreaker for the Sun Belt Championship is the highest ranking if the two teams have the same record or if they meet head to head. However, there is a chance if we beat App State, then it will most likely be us against y'all. And then it might come down to the highest ranking because I feel like if we beat App State, you guys should beat App State. It's in Louisiana. Both teams have a great path to go 8-0. However, Louisiana has the more favorable schedule to jump Coastal in the rankings. And to my understanding, the highest ranked team is going to host the Sun Belt Championship. So if that does happen, you guys have Liberty and you guys have Texas. 2 huge games. It'll be 2 quality wins. Our big win will be App State, unfortunately, because we have Kansas, the Citadel, UMass, and Buffalo.
Right.
You guys got the advantage there. I feel like if you guys do go 12-0 or even 11-1 and destroy Liberty or beat Texas, lose to Liberty, Liberty be ranked. Even 11-1 Louisiana still might be ahead of a 12-0 Coastal team who, didn't play anybody. If that's the case, I wouldn't mind it because I would love to try some jumbo and guess drink with y'all down there. But we'll get to that later, man. I really do hope that does happen. But if someone were to tell you that Louisiana would go 11-1 before you even saw the schedule, before you saw Texas, App State, and Liberty, if you were to think Louisiana would go 11-1, would you take it?
Absolutely. In fact, that's my prediction is 11-1. I think it's so damn hard to go undefeated. Next to impossible. So which game do I think we'll lose? I don't know which one. It could be Texas. It could be Liberty. It could be App State, or you never know. I think the Sun Belt is a hell of a lot better conference than a lot of people give it credit for. It could be Georgia Southern. It could be Arkansas State. You just never know. I think we got to be, cliche, but every game matters. So we got to be on our toes for every game this year. There can be no letdown. If we beat Texas, we can't get the big head and all of a sudden get beat by Nicholls State. That just defeats the purpose of beating Texas.
Right. Yeah. Who was that quarterback? Is he the one that started for y'all last year? Is he back again this year?
He is Levi Lewis.
Levi Lewis. Yep. Yeah. I think you guys would be in good standing. If you guys beat Texas, again, I have y'all going 11-1, and if I had to pick it by a game, I did have them losing at Texas. But when I say that, I feel like they'll beat Texas. They the Sun Belt last year 3-0 against the Big 12. Why not beat another Big 12 team that's going to be a future SEC team? I think Louisiana has a great chance to beat Texas.
Absolutely. I agree. I mean, they have a new coach. They have a new coaching staff. They have a new starter at quarterback. They have an outstanding running back in Bijan Robinson. I feel like if we can contain him, I think we set ourselves up pretty good to win. We have 20 starters returning. I just feel like this is our shot. We need to take it. It'll get a lot of national exposure. It's on national television on Fox. So I don't know that Texas is prepared for what they're fixing to face. Not only do we return 20 starters, we're basically 3 deep at every position.
Right. That was the good thing about the whole COVID year and eligibility, all that good stuff. Everyone's pretty deep this year.
Absolutely.
One thing that is good about a week 1 game against a Power 5 is you could get them slipping being week 1. Louisiana came out and they beat Iowa State last year, and I hate the fact that Iowa State was 8-3 and was finished at number 6 or 7. And they said, oh, well, when they lost to Louisiana, it was week 1. They had 2 special team touchdowns, so does it really count? Last time I checked, special team was a part of the game. And if you can't stop a team on special teams, then you don't deserve to win. If you can't stop a group of 5 team and you're just Power 5, powerhouse, top 10 team in the country, and you let a Sun Belt team beat you, come on now, on special teams. And then they use the excuse week 1. So I'm hoping that if Louisiana does beat Texas, it's just an absolute rubbing, so they can't use all those stupid excuses, to save the Big 12. And because honestly, the Sun Belt, if you put them head to head, 1 versus 1, 2 versus 2, 3, I think we probably compete with probably the top 6 or 7, and then whoever draws Kansas will beat Kansas. But speaking of divisions and everything, I want to know who's going to compete with Louisiana in the Sun Belt West. Is there any competition there, or?
Well, I feel like a lot of people are predicting Arkansas State, and they may very well be the number 2 team. But I personally am predicting Texas State. They lost a lot of close games last year. They have brought in a ton of transfers, whether they be JC transfers or transfers, from 4-year schools. I just seeing them play last year, I felt like their coach is turning it around. I'm glad they gave him another year, and I feel like they are the dark horse to be number 2. I don't think there's any team in the West that, barring injury for one of our players, that will challenge us. But I think it'll be Texas State, Arkansas State, and South Alabama.
Yeah, sounds about right. Texas State, I think they only signed 1 guy that's, an incoming freshman. The rest are transfers. So they're going to have some guys with experience coming in. I think Texas State will be pretty good. I have them floating. If I had to pick every game, I think I had them at 4 wins, but I could easily see them anywhere from 6 to 7 wins. South Alabama, I just don't know. I always fall for their hype every year. Arkansas State just has a absolute brutal schedule with Washington, Tulsa, and then Louisiana, Coastal, Georgia Southern, all just back to back to back. And then they even play Central Arkansas, who beat them last time they played, if I'm not mistaken. And Central Arkansas is one of the better FCS teams. So, Arkansas.
I think Jones was a good hire for Arkansas State, and I think they got a lot of momentum going. But again, I feel like Texas State is going to be number 2. going back to the beginning of the season, we talked about Iowa State, and the game really wasn't as close as the score. If anybody watched the game, and the year before that, we lost to Mississippi State by 10 points in the Superdome. So the opening against a big school like Texas or Iowa State, that's not a surprise, and I feel like kind of for y'all, it's the reverse this year. Y'all are favored against Kansas, but Kansas has a new coach who came from Buffalo and was very successful. So I don't think Coastal can afford to overlook Kansas this year either. They've kind of been the laughing stock for a while, but I think that Coach Leopold's a pretty good coach.
Yeah, and he actually brought over some guys from Buffalo. And ironically enough, we play Buffalo after we play Kansas.
Right.
But no, Kansas was a team, I don't care how bad you are. You can be Vandy, Rutgers, don't matter. It's just for a group of 5 team, really teams that, shouldn't be beating those Power 5 teams. To beat them 3 straight years, that's tough. Especially last year, it was back-to-back years in Lawrence, Les Miles first and second year. And last year I said, there's probably no way they beat Les Miles in his second year there. He's got, a year of his guys in. And they went there and drubbed them. And then, this year, Les Miles is out, Leopold's in for Buffalo. I hope they don't overlook it. That's the only thing I'm worried about is this team overlooking one of their opponents, because I want to say they go 12-0, but could they slip up a game or two? Absolutely. I want to see how they handled the success of last year. I think the good thing is, they lost to Liberty last year, so it wasn't a perfect year. It was a perfect regular season, but it wasn't a perfect year, so they are coming off of a loss, so maybe that'll humble them and keep them focused. But I want to know, who do you think because obviously I think everyone will have Louisiana in the Sun Belt Championship. Who are they going to play in that game?
Well, I was on another call, and I actually predicted App State to beat Coastal, so I'm going to stick with that. I'm not just going to say Coastal because I'm on your show.
Yeah.
And the reason I picked that is exactly what you just talked about. Last year cannot be disputed. Coastal had a great season. App State has had great seasons year after year after year after year. Can they bounce back this year and take it again? I think so, but we'll see. Coastal, I'm afraid, which I had the same fear from Louisiana last year. You had a great year. You only lost 1 game. Double-digit wins. Are they going to get the big head, so to say, and overlook teams that you shouldn't be overlooking? Hopefully not. But the more success all of our teams has, the better it is for the league as a whole. So, right now I'm predicting App State. I think it could go either way. I think the East is by far the more dominant division. I think Georgia State is a dark horse. If Georgia Southern had not lost their quarterback to Louisville, I would have said them. Even Troy, I think Troy's at the bottom, but Georgia State, a very close third, and then App and Coastal right there. And you guys have App State after they play us, if I'm not mistaken.
We do, yes.
So
we're on a bye week too.
That's going to be a tough game for them.
Yeah, a lot of teams got that tough draw. There's a lot of teams in this conference that either play Coastal Louisiana or Louisiana App or Coastal App in back-to-back weeks. And I don't know how they managed to draw that, but that is tough. But you mentioned Troy being towards the bottom. The last 2 years, we've had to beat Troy with 35 seconds left and 30 seconds left. So, those last couple of games against Troy haven't, been a cakewalk. Like if you looked at Coastal last year, you would have thought that they would go into Troy and, probably win by 3-4 scores, but it was the opposite, man. Troy scored with maybe a minute or so to go and took the lead, and then we drove down the field, scored with either 30 to 35 seconds, and pulled that one out to stay perfect. And then, what happened next week? We had, a guy test positive, and then they took out the contact tracing, and they took out an entire position group, and it canceled the Louisiana Coastal game, the rematch that, I think that was Louisiana's only loss last year. And it was a 30-27 game, walk-off field goal in Louisiana. I mean, that game, all the Louisiana fans are obviously upset because they wanted the second shot at Coastal. And believe me, I was upset. I mean, I almost cried. I was like, damn, like I really wanted that game to happen. I was so excited because I obviously wanted to go to the Louisiana game regular season, but it's just too far. I think it was a weeknight game too. We Coastal in the Sun Belt loves weeknight games. We have 6 this year, if I'm not mistaken, off the top of my head. 2 non-conference, 4 conference, or something like that. And then we play at App State on a Wednesday night. It's going to be sold out, I guarantee it, in Boone, late October. Might be a little chilly. How they going to handle it? I don't know, but man, last year that and that's our 2 fan bases just went at it, and they still go at it.
Oh, they're still going at it. I remember people jumping on you on Twitter, and I was like, hey, this this ain't the Barstool Coastal guy.
Yeah, I remember that.
There are fans that the Coastal fans that wanted to see that game. You think your team's good. Of course, you want to beat the crap out of whoever the other team is. And, that would have just, if y'all had played and won even more, probably a higher ranking, it was to y'all's benefit to play the game.
Exactly.
So all this arguing back and forth, to me, that was last year. Let's just go move forward and ain't nothing anybody can do about it. Let's just meet again,
Right. That's what I'm hoping for. That's what I'm hoping for. And then, right now, only one spot separates the 2 of us. And obviously when the playoff poll comes out, it could be different. But like I said, you guys have some quality games. Texas, Liberty. We have App State. How they view that and how, they're going to view how well did Coastal win those games? Did they just barely sneak out, win by 7, 10, 13? Yeah, they got to win, but they should have beat South Alabama by, 30. And then they can look at Louisiana. They go into Liberty. They beat Liberty. Say they lose a very tight one to Texas. It's a quality loss. That's their favorite word when they do those rankings, is a quality loss. So I at the end of the year, man, I'm gonna go and predict it. I'm gonna say Louisiana's gonna host the Sun Belt Championship, and I think it's gonna be Coastal, just because that's how the world works. Everyone wants that rematch, so I think we're gonna get it. It's terrible that there's not a asterisk on my rooster behind me, but because I got that one all the time. The Chanticleers and the comments, man. And I was like, 2 years ago when we were going 3-9, 5-7, and I was like, man, if you would have told me, and no one really cared about us because we were new to the Sun Belt, and I was a student, we were still FCS. If you'd have told me we would have won 11 games in the the back end of my junior year, seeing how it worked, because I took a semester off, so it's kind of weird. But if you'd have told me that Coastal was going to win 11 games in the FBS while I was still a student here, I would have been like, nah, you're crazy. Because, we had 2 years going 3-9. I think it was 3-9, and then, 5 wins here and there, and missing bowl eligibility on the last game of the year. But I was like, man, there's no way, I didn't think it would be that quick. I kind of figured once they got to the full scholarships, allotted, then they'll compete because, you got San Marcos, Texas, Mobile, Alabama, places like that, Statesboro. I haven't been to Statesboro. Love Statesboro. Let's be honest, outside of the Waffle House, and I'm sure Dara Lynn will correct the hell out of me when she sees this, that there's a lot more doing Statesboro when I do a video with her. But you got Myrtle Beach, Dirty Myrtle, the beach chickens. And come on, you're a college kid. You're like, I turned down going to play D2 football in the middle of, BF West Virginia to come to school here because I wanted to go somewhere that had a lot going on, bigger than 2 stoplights, 2 gas stations. So I figured, once they got the recruits and they would compete with App State, and then, App State last year, I think they had 3 losses. This year, they might have 3 losses again. They got Miami, Louisiana, and us. They could go 9-3 as well, but they got Cameron Peoples back, and I watched him run over us like crazy in the first half, and then we shut him down second half. But then I watched him in the bowl game, the Myrtle Beach Bowl here against North Texas, like 6 touchdowns, 5 touchdowns, and however many yards he wanted, he got. So if we can contain him the entire game this year, I feel good. But if we let Cameron Peoples run wild, then it might be App in Louisiana with a rematch.
if we do see each other again, I'm glad that is it Maribel? Am I pronouncing it right?
Yeah,
I'm glad he's gone.
right.
I don't want to see him anymore. Um, our school has a winning record against all but three Sunbelt schools: Troy, Coastal, and App State. So Coastal were 1-2, App State were 1-8, Troy were 3-6. Um, the game last year we lost final seconds field goal, but people forget the game before that, Georgia State, we won the game last second field goal.
Right.
So it goes both ways, Uh, were we that much better than everybody else? No, we won a lot of close games too. Georgia State is a prime example.
Right. Yeah, you mentioned close games. I remember there was one year where Clemson won the national championship, and if I'm not mistaken, they beat Troy that year by a single possession, and then they had either 6 or 7 games that were decided by 8 points or less. But they still got a shot at the national championship, 12-0, Clemson, SEC, powerhouse. God forbid if Louisiana, let's say Louisiana goes 13-0. Let's say they beat Texas, they beat Liberty, and then they beat, either Coastal or App. Or, maybe Georgia State shocks them all and Georgia State goes. But say they go 13-0. You know what they're going to get? They have to hope that Cincinnati loses to Notre Dame and Indiana, because Cincinnati's ranked 8th right now. If they sneak out one against Indiana, it might be game over. You might have a 13-0 team not in a New Year's Six bowl game, and that would piss me off. And that would
I'll be honest with you. I'm shocked we're both ranked in the preseason.
Me too.
I really, not because it's not deserved, but just because of the bias toward the schools.
Right. I was even talking with a CFB campus tour on Twitter, the other day. We did one of these calls, and we were both complaining about the rankings, and I said, well, it is a start. I said, at least we are ranked preseason, 2 Sunbelt teams for the first time ever in the preseason.
Right.
So, and the same thing with the coaches poll. I said, well, at least it's a start, but they kind of put us there at the back end, and I guarantee if one of us slips up, it's we're out. Especially if we slip up against anyone, we're out. Doesn't matter who. I would just feel terrible if you guys lose to Texas by 10 or 7 or less than that. Then if they kick Louisiana out of the top 25, then that's wrong. That'd be absolutely wrong. It'd be brutal. But hopefully, I hope you guys beat Texas, man.
I do too. We don't have a great record against them. Well, we've only played them twice, and they beat the crap out of us both times. But that was years ago. Different time, different place. So Coach Napier's done a great job since he's been there. When I was going to school there, we had Brandon Stokely. I don't know if you know who I'm talking about. He used to play wide receiver for the Ravens and the Colts. I think he caught the only touchdown in the Super Bowl the Ravens won. Anyway, his father was the coach there. So then we went through some coaches after that, and the one after him was really bad, and his name was Jerry Baldwin. Then he was replaced by Ricky Bussell, who used to be the Virginia Tech coordinator when Michael Vick was there. Each coach after that has gotten better. Mark Hudspeth and now Coach Napier. And I hope Coach Napier sticks around for at least 5 more years. I feel like every year we have him, it's just more benefit to us. Not just because of the wins of. He's very, to me, he reminds me a lot of Nick Saban. He's very methodical, very detail oriented, and he's a family person, cares about his players, cares about the community.
Yeah, man, that's good. But boy, I tell you what, man, I hope we meet down in Louisiana. I won't be mad at the travel out there. I'll be done with my internship. I'll be done with class. Can't wait to try some of that Louisiana cooking down there and get me some bourbon. Definitely get me some bourbon down in Louisiana. I feel like that's a must. But, man, one thing, speaking of food, and everyone here at Coastal, I was in a marketing class, and this was 2 years ago when Louisiana came to Coastal, and y'all drug us across I think it was 48-7 on a Thursday night on national TV, something like that. But, we were doing marketing before the season started, and then we were trying to develop different strategies for the different games, and we pull up Louisiana, and we're trying to dig, through some Louisiana stuff. And there's y'all's mascot is a pepper, if I'm not mistaken, or Can you give me a background behind that? I think we have two of the best mascots in the Sun Belt and college football alone.
It was a pepper, and it I personally hate the pepper, so uh, I know this is a podcast. I'm still not going to say what I thought the pepper looked like in person.
Hey man, hey,
But
everyone says it's about the chicken.
it was horrible. It's hard, kind of like the Fighting Irish. It's hard to harness what a raging Cajun looks like. Um, when I first got there, the school was originally the Bulldogs, so that's what they still had a bulldog, and they brought it out. And of course, it's hot as hell in South Louisiana. You got this bulldog rolling around with this sweater on. It looked miserable. But they had a couple of other mascots. I actually wrote an article for Fifth Quarter about the greatest name and the worst mascot. But yeah, the cayenne pepper, I mean, I'm cool with it, be the little apostrophe on the raging, but to be a mascot, it part of why they say they got rid of it was it scared children because it looked extremely pissed off all the time, the way it was designed. Now, some people loved it. Me personally, I wasn't a fan of it, but I'm more of a fan of us trying to do like the Louisiana state dog, which is the Catahoula cur as a mascot. You could do a live animal, you could do a costume. I mean, but that's up to the administration. But I think they retired the pepper 2 or 3 years ago quietly and haven't seen it since.
Yeah, because now I think it's just, Raging Cajuns, wrote out is what I see as your logo, every now and then. Or I see the don't know what it's called. I'm not from Louisiana. I have no idea, but LSU
Fleur de Lis.
That, yep.
Yeah, they award those as helmet stickers, kind of like Ohio State does the Buckeye, for great plays or great game. I don't know how they determine how you earn one, but yeah, I mean, I love that personally. Can't go with it too big because then people think you're copying the Saints because that's
Right.
kind of what it looks like. But yeah, personally, that's my favorite, and I love that as an award on the helmet. I think it looks really good.
Yeah, there you go. My favorite thing when we play Louisiana in any sport, I love if I'm at the game, I do live tweets, and I usually try to do emojis. And man, it is my favorite when I get to use a pepper and then the beach wave for the emojis for the game. It always excites me, man. The Bobcat school that I get to use, and a panther and an eagle. But man, a pepper, that's by far my favorite one that I get to use, yearly when Coastal has games, man. But Coastal, we don't play y'all this year. Wish we did. Hopefully we meet up. I want to hear your. Usually I do picks for whoever Coastal has this week and other games. But since we don't, who do you think wins the SEC?
The SEC.
SEC. Who do you think wins the SEC?
Oh, that's a good one. I think I told you on Twitter that I actually live in Alabama, so it would be easy for me to pick Alabama, but I think I'm going to have to go with Texas A&M.
A&M. That's a good one. I know they got a lot of hype this year. Jimbo Fisher has been there for a hot minute now. Georgia also has a lot of hype this year. They open with Clemson. I feel like if they can beat Clemson, which I actually have them beating Clemson, even though I'm in South Carolina, I think Georgia does win that game. They got a lot of guys coming back. Obviously Etienne and Lawrence are gone for Clemson, and JT Daniels is back for Georgia. But I mean, if Georgia can beat Florida, I feel like Florida will slip up along the road anyway against maybe a team like Tennessee or something like that. But I'm gonna have to go with Bama. I can't pick against Bama.
It's hard.
Man, it's the hardest thing to do is pick against Alabama.
They just have to replace so much, and I guess by the same logic, I shouldn't have picked Texas A&M, but I'm just not sold on Bryce Young. Maybe he'll turn out to be great, but the limited time he was on the field last year, to me, he didn't impress.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, he's already made $1 million on his NIL contract. So I don't know, man. It'll be interesting to see how they do. Bama lost a whole lot last year to the draft, and again, it's Alabama. Same thing with Clemson, Georgia, Ohio State. They reload every year. I don't think it's going to matter. I was born in Ohio. I spent some years in Michigan. The Big Ten this year, I'm extremely high on Wisconsin and Iowa. I think them two, whoever wins that game, will win that division. Obviously, I think Ohio State will win their division. Unless Jim Harbaugh can just pull one out and actually upset them for the first time in X amount of years. But that Big Ten game, I think it's going to be Wisconsin and Ohio State, and give me Ohio State. Give me Ohio State, Bama again in the playoffs. That'd be two of my teams in there.
I was actually born in Kentucky, so Kentucky is probably my favorite SEC team. And I worked for Ole Miss for a short time, so they're probably my second favorite. But I can't pick either one of them. I think Kentucky will have a solid year. Ole Miss, I think they need another year under Kiffin's recruiting to get some defensive help in there. Big Ten, I agree with you. I like Wisconsin. They're consistently a good team. Can they beat Ohio State? I don't know. It'd be pretty tough.
Right. Yeah, I'm the same way. And actually, growing up between the two states, my mom, OSU fan, she didn't really care about football. My dad was a Michigan fan. I grew up going to Michigan games. So when it comes to that, I always do pull for Michigan. But we'll do two more. Give me we got the SEC, the Big 12 or the Big 10. Give me the Big 12. Let me hear you got for the Big 12.
I guess I'm gonna have to go with Oklahoma on that one. I don't see anybody even coming close. Maybe Iowa State. I think Texas is going to have a winning season, but I don't think they're going to compete for the title. Oklahoma State, Oklahoma, not Oklahoma State. Kind of like Ohio State and Clemson and Alabama. They just reload year after year. If they can have some solid defense, I think Spencer Rattler probably have a great year. Leading Heisman candidate, a lot of people are thinking. So that's my pick.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat with you. I think it's going to be Oklahoma and Iowa State in the rematch. I give me Oklahoma though. I was talking with someone else, and they think it'll be reversed. They think that Oklahoma will win regular season, Iowa State in the conference championship. But it's hard to go against Oklahoma. So right now I have Bama, Ohio State, and Oklahoma in the playoff. And man, every year Oklahoma in the playoff just they show up to the game, but they don't seem like they play in the game. But
right.
Hey, at least they made it. So I mean, that's more than I can say about my school. So hopefully they can actually go there and do something this year. And the ACC, man, I feel like it's going to be Clemson and North Carolina. The last couple of times that they've played has been a darn close game. And there's one year with controversy on an onside kick, that Carolina recovered, but it got called back. Clemson ends up winning that game. I tell you what, man, if Clemson goes 10-2, they may not know how to act or be 11-2. I'm sorry, because it'd be a conference championship game, but give me the Tar Heels, man. I'm high on Mac Brown. I was high on them last year. I'm high on Sam Howell. I think Sam Howell wins the Heisman. Give me Carolina winning the ACC, the real Carolina.
I'm with you. I really like North Carolina. I think Texas made a mistake getting rid of Mac Brown. And Sam Howell is if it ain't Rattler, it'll be Howell. And if it ain't Howell, it'll be Rattler. I feel like unless some dark horse emerges, I would love to see North Carolina because I don't like Dabo. I don't like Clemson. I don't know why. I just don't. More of a North Carolina fan in as far as that between the two schools.
Right. Yeah. I mean, currently I live in South Carolina. I graduated high school in North Carolina, and I went to school throughout 5th grade in North Carolina. Not a North Carolina fan by any means whatsoever. Usually when I go to their games, their fans just get on my everlasting nerve for whatever reason. Moving down here, I actually went to a bunch of Clemson games when I lived in North Carolina. Loved it. Loved their fans. Loved Dabo. Still love Dabo. Great respect for what he's done there. There's some games where I'm like, all right, man, you gotta chill, man. And some of his interviews just drive me up the wall. But I moved down here in 2016. It was kind of when Clemson was taking over, man. And even in Conway, you saw the switch of everyone being a South Carolina fan going to a Clemson fan. And that just rubbed me the wrong way. And I was like, man, screw this. I can't, can't stand it. So if I had to pick one, I guess I would choose South Carolina. But
Sounds like you've been to a lot of stadiums. Which one's your favorite?
so I've been to a lot. I've been to about 47, but all not free games. I've been to about 20 some odd free games, probably about 22. Loved BYU. I loved Utah. But man, top 5. I'm doing a return trip to Navy for 9/11 when they play Air Force in 2 weeks. So that's gonna be special. Navy was one of my favorite stadiums that I went to. So I think top 5 would have to be Navy, Georgia Tech, BYU, Michigan, and weirdly enough, Wake Forest. Just the way the setup is. Sitting on the hill, man. It's just because of the convenience of Wake Forest. I mean, there's no lines. There's no line for the bathroom, no line for a concession stand. It's maybe 75% full. Their fight song is probably arguably one of my favorite in college football. So hearing that thing, 30 times a game just gets me excited. But I'm doing a game at Tennessee this year. I'm doing a game at Florida this year. And I might do one up in Maryland. I'm doing App State. Might do some action games towards the end of the year. But I feel like Tennessee has a great potential of cracking the top 5 for the stadiums I've been to.
I bet they do. I've never been. I've been. Kentucky had a great atmosphere, but I went to the Egg Bowl in Starkville, and that was the greatest. Short of when we upset Texas A&M at Cajun Field, that game had the greatest in-stadium atmosphere. The whole crowd, both sides. I mean, it was just fantastic.
Right, yeah. Atmosphere though, Michigan, easily, unbiasedly, one of my favorite. You have 110,000 plus. It might be one of the best atmospheres, but when you go to that stadium, man, there's maybe 20 rows at the most above ground. It goes deep into the ground. There's no upper level. It's just a strict bowl game or a bowl-shaped stadium. But man, you got to sit like this. I mean, you are tucked in, man. If you're not on the aisle, forget about getting up. And you either straddle the person, that's sitting in front of you, or you're just tucked in, hopefully in between shoulders of the people in front of you. But 110,000, singing "Hail to the Victors," that's
right.
That's a special feeling. Especially like I saw Miami run through the smoke. That's incredible. The midshipmen, coming out onto the field at Navy before the game. That's probably the most special one I've seen. I've seen, Cosmo and the Cougarettes, dance at BYU. And I tell you what, that is the best sober environment there is in college football. I did a skid where it was Utah on a Friday night, and man, there are tailgates all throughout Salt Lake City. I mean, there was no shortage of alcohol in Salt Lake City. None for that Friday night game. And then BYU had a night game. It was 8 o'clock. It was Zach Wilson's first start at BYU. It was against Hawaii. And so I had some friends out there because my company is based in Utah that I work for. So I went and saw them, went out to the game, and I said, hey, man, the game's at 8 o'clock. When's the tailgate? When do, the frets throw down? And, when's, the party? And they looked at me, and they're like, we don't do that here. So I'm like, wait a second, there's no tailgate? We just sit here till about 6 or 7 o'clock watching football all day. I was like, hey, don't get me wrong, nothing wrong with that. But I was at a new school, and I don't know if you've been to Utah or not, but the women in Provo are something. There's something everywhere, but man, in Provo, Utah, a special kind of pretty out in Utah, man. I don't know what it is, but going out there to that game, I had low expectations. I said, this is going to suck. There's no party beforehand. I was like, how are they going to be excited? How are they going to be lit? But, oh, my God. Give them a cougar tail, which is like a foot-long maple donut, and soda, which made its appearance on campus for the first time in 2018. I mean, one of the greatest environments I've been a part of. That was an incredible atmosphere. It was the most fun. I've been to over 100 college football games, and that's definitely top 5 for most fun I've had.
Wow.
Yeah, so if you get the chance, definitely go out to BYU.
We were talking about Alabama. I saw the Cajuns play Alabama in Alabama, and I was given the tickets by a friend, and I don't know why I didn't assume. I assumed they were better seats than what they were. So by the time my old fat ass got up to the very top where the seats were, I was exhausted, which didn't matter because of course they beat the crap out of the Cajuns, but it was still nice to get to say I've been to Bryant-Denny Stadium and I got to see, Alabama play Louisiana there. What
Right.
would you say is favorite food at a stadium you've had?
Oh boy, at a stadium.
Or tailgate?
Yep. I'm trying to be unbiased here, but the best food at a tailgate that I've had, unfortunately, Georgia Southern's, I feel like they had high potential and it got cut out at Gatto Row because it was a downpour when I went there last year. So I have to redo that one. But give me Miami. Down in Miami Gardens, man. The Cuban food down there is incredible. The tailgate scene is different down there. It's still don't get me wrong, it is a party. It is a fiesta. They are throwing down. But then you know how in the South, we have beer pong. And you have the beer pong tables. Everyone decorates them and everything. What down in Miami, they'll have these tables and it's for dominoes. Everyone plays dominoes. And the tables will have cutouts on the side for the people playing to put their cigar down.
Interesting.
So it's a different tailgate, but man, that's one of my favorite for sure. South Carolina was a great time. I went and watched Coastal play there. Same thing. I was seeing Coastal at SEC school. That was great. We didn't win, but if we would have played last year, I feel like it would have went a whole lot differently. And then, of course, they rescheduled the game for 2025 when Grayson McCall will be gone. So who knows what will happen by then. But, yeah, tailgates, oh, yeah, give me Miami. Even Miami on the road. I'm actually doing Miami, Alabama in Atlanta.
Okay.
And obviously, I'm more excited for the tailgate because I think Bama will win. I think it's going to be closer than what the 18.5-point spread is. But, man, I'm excited to see Nick Saban, excited to see Alabama. I haven't seen them before, so that's going to be cool. But Miami tailgates are just different. Coastal, we have our frat tailgates here, and, I'm excited for that Thursday. See everyone out there for the first time in 2 years. But you get the frat tailgates everywhere. Like I was at one in Toledo, wearing an opposing team's gear, and, we were standing in line at the Porta Johns, and these frat brothers come up behind me. They get to talking about the shirt I had on. It's like, man, like they had a Gatorade cooler full of like jungle juice or something or another. They're like, man, do a shot out of the Gatorade bucket or the Gatorade, little handle. I was like, hell yeah, gladly. So they took me over to their spot, and Toledo was a fun time. It just sucked, doing shots of Fireball at 6 a.m. That was never again. I hate new kickoffs, but yeah, definitely go out to BYU, man. It's just one of those sneaky good stadiums. The Cougarettes, incredible. Cosmo, probably one of the best college mascots there is. And it's funny enough, I really hope BYU fans, give this a listen because we got a lot of hate from BYU last year. And, I have a high respect for BYU because I've been out to the games. I've been to their campus. I've been to Provo for an entire week and did everything you could in Provo. So, but, man, I have a high respect for, Louisiana, App State, BYU, all the teams that, our fan base here, kind of does, and especially Barstool CCU, but that man, dude, that man's a character, man. When there's some tweets that I don't know where he thinks of this, I don't know where he comes up with this stuff, but I guess you have to when you work for Barstool. I mean, every Barstool is kind of the same, but ours kind of does go over the top sometimes. But
a lot of it's clickbait, kind of like
Big Game Boomer.
I don't follow him. I mean, he comes up with these lists, and it's like, where the hell did you get this stuff? But it gets attention. People retweet it. They love it. They bitch about it. There's different things. So it's all about getting attention. There's no such thing, I guess, as bad attention.
Yeah, exactly. I'm the same with that Big Game Boomer. I just want to ask him and be like, have you even been to these places? I know guys that are on, year-long journeys to go see a game at every college football stadium. Actually, really good friends with CFB Campus Tour, Mike. And, he's done a few games here at Coastal. He's at, I think, 111 games at different FBS schools and 30 FCS. And I said, when I saw Big Game Boomer make this list, I said, there's only one list that I would trust. And it's if it comes from CFB Campus Tour, because he's actually been to every campus, seen everything there is to see there. He does all, the food plays, the restaurants,
Right.
drinking every now and then. But I was like, I'll trust his list. But Big Game Boomer, like, come on, bro. Like, there's some places that when he does, I'm like, where do you get this information from? And when he does, I think the only one he gets right is the biggest fans from each school, and he does, Brian Quigley, and he's that man. He's a good follow. He's a good time at our games, but you don't mess with that joker. There was BYU fans that were trying to go at him, and his season tickets were a few rows in front of mine last year. And my dad's a big guy too, and Brian though, he was telling Brian, or people that were talking crap to Brian, like, you don't mess with him. You do not mess with that guy. That's like the one guy you don't mess with in the entire state. Because he will jack someone up real quick. I don't think he actually would, do it, but he has the potential to to do it. But he's a great guy though. I hope that, if we go out to Louisiana, you guys come here, outside of me, that's another one. That's a Coastal super fan that everyone just has to meet at a Coastal game.
Hopefully so. I don't follow Big Game Boomer. I don't wish him no harm, but I don't engage because I know it's clickbait. That's
exactly.
Just
Yep. Yeah, it's pointless to get in it with him. But man, I appreciate you coming on. I look forward to hopefully our game in the Sun Belt Championship. Whether it's at Louisiana or Coastal, hopefully it's at one of the two, because that means one of us will be in it. But hopefully it's us and y'all, even though a lot of people think it might be App State, but give us Coastal Louisiana. And it's so ironic that we don't play this year, despite what happened last year with all the controversy and the title.
right.
It's just so rare that, usually when the team in the West that we don't play is usually the worst team in the West. And this year, when we want to play the best team, we don't play the best team. So can't win there. But man, I look forward to seeing you guys down in Louisiana. Hopefully it happens. If not, I think you guys come here next year. So definitely looking forward to that one.
All right. I appreciate it, Hayden. Enjoyed it.
Yeah, man. Thanks, man. You have a good night.
You too. Thanks.